Welcome to E39 Source. Today we're going to be flashing a 2000 E39 M5 with the Shark Injector available from Turner Motorsport. We're going to be using the, of course, M5 software being N4 M5. So we're just going to walk you through the steps required to safely flash the ECU. There's a danger here, and let me say at this point, continue at your own risk of bricking your M5 or vehicle, BMW, whatever you're going to be doing this on. The steps are largely the same. So I've actually done this to my 2005 that's in beautification storage mode right now last summer. So I'm going to be helping Luke do his today, and we're going to walk you through the steps. So we're just going to be using the instructions that come with it. They are very self-explanatory, but I think the video will just add a little bit to that. And they highly recommend using a battery charger. So what we're going to use is the one that Turner Motorsport recommends. And I bought this when I bought my Shark chip last year. It's this, I believe it's a Napa 80 amp engine start 20 amp boost. I don't really know much about battery chargers, but that is what it looks like. Here it is here. So we're going to walk you through now connecting that up to the battery to ensure that our battery holds proper voltage throughout the ECU flash. In the trunk of the M5, you're going to find the battery in the center. Any other 5 Series, 3 Series, it's going to live over there, but we're on the fast one today, so it's in the middle. That's the negative terminal in the battery. The positive is under there, so we're going to need to obtain a, I believe, is it a 10 or 13 millimeter?
I believe it's 10.
I believe it's 10 millimeter socket wrench or whatever to lift those bolts out of place there, remove the cover, and get our charger on there in just a moment. You're going to find the outside bolts that hold down the battery cover to be 13 millimeters, and the bolt primarily responsible for holding down the negative cable is a 10. So loosen all of that, then we can come over here and just wiggle that off, hold that out of the way, and remove the cover and the styrofoam underneath it. Here's a method we're using back here. We've put the positive on the whole cable there, and then I'm just using, I threaded a bolt back on the stud that held the cover on, and then we're grounding to the frame via that bolt. So the charger, there's a couple options we have on here. We're gonna look to select, if we can get in focus, we want this to be on standard. That's the battery type. It's a standard type battery as opposed to gel, or I believe that's AGM. On the left, we're using a 20 amp charging method as opposed to the 2 amp or the 80 amp. So we're in the 20 amp mode. Then it's going to show us voltage. It's barely charging the battery at all right now, as this battery is days old in Luke's M5. So with a good battery charge on there, we can move on to the next point. Just to make things clear, we are going to reconnect the negative cable onto the battery. We obviously need voltage in the car for this procedure. We had it disconnected so we could remove that. So plug that back in. Now we're going to move inside the car. Under the dashboard of the car, you can see my location relative to the pedals and trunk lid release. We're going to find the OBD2 port, onboard diagnostics 2. Push on that, it'll pop open, revealing up inside the, I don't know how many pins there are, but that would be the OBD2 port where we're going to be plugging in the Shark to flash the software. So at this point, I'm going to refamiliarize myself with the instructions, and we'll tell you how to proceed in a minute. Per instructions, we're going to lower both the front driver's and passenger side window. So insert your key, give it a twist, and push the buttons. If your vehicle is a production 9 of 98 through 2000 E39 528 or 9 of 98 through 04 E39 540, M5, and Z8, that would be the M62 and S62 V8 engines, we now need to remove fuses 17 and 31 from the Glovebox fuse panels. So handy helper Luke over there, go ahead, pop that panel down. You're going to find 2 white little turn things. You're going to turn them 90 degrees. Yep. It'll come down.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Really cannot see. Did you drop the panel? Yeah, you did. And
you want me?
Yeah, I got it. 17 and 31.
Is that what it is, Cannon?
Find those. Actually, look on top. You see that red thing? That's the fuse removal tool.
Yeah.
So pull that out. It's like a little set of pliers.
And then
17 and 31. With fuses 17 and 31 out of the way, put them in a dry safe location. Keep them separated so you know which is which. We've got 31 on the right being a bigger number than 17. That's the fuse removal tool. I'm now going to mention, per instructions, it is very important that you use that battery charger connected at the battery itself. If you don't do that and you screw it up, it's your fault. We're going to get a little tricky here and tell the trunk it's shut, but it's actually not. We're going to leave it open to keep the cable running through there. You could run the cable through, say, your split fold seats and crack a window over here and push it through there. We're not going to use that avenue. With a flat blade screwdriver, we're just going to come up here and in the latch, push it as if it were closing. And if you look down at the mechanism, you'll see how that works. It just fits over that peg there. So put a flat blade in there, give it a push, you'll notice it'll make a loud click, and then the trunk lights, or the lights in the trunk will go off. So then it thinks it's shut. With those windows open, we're now going to close all the doors, all the windows except the front two, make the trunk think it's shut, and close your hood before we move on to the next step. We have the key out of the ignition and everything's shut up at this point. So let's open the door. Luke, if you want to get over here. This is the last thing I believe we're going to do with a door open. Notice we have an inspection mirror down here. And this is going to be because the indicator light on the Shark Injector, depending on the orientation of the car, may point down. If Luke's M5 is like mine, which I'm assuming it is, being only a few months older, we'll be able to see the LED without much trouble. But just in case, we put the mirror in there. We opened that OBD 2-port earlier. Luke, you just go ahead and get down there and put it in, being very careful not to touch any of the buttons, or I guess the one button.
So hold it up by its side, essentially.
Right, so hold it on the side and just plug that in the car.
And it looks like it should be pretty, yeah, it's pretty solid.
We see a flashing light. I think the instructions say
you want it to be solid.
To unplug it and wait like 10 seconds and then plug it back in. So get that plugged in and we'll see what the indicator does.
And I believe the light is solid green.
The light's solid green, so that's what we want.
Now I need to position this so we can see.
We're going to position the mirror so we can see that light by just looking inside the car. We're not going to want to reach in, touch anything. Don't let your kids sit in the back seat. Don't let your pet tarantula walk over the interior. None of that. So get that mirror lined up and we'll proceed. Now we're going to put the key in position 2, so that's going to illuminate everything on the dash. Your gas gauge will indicate how much fuel you'll have. You hear some noises from the front. It's like accessory mode.
Shoot, and it says to turn everything off too. So.
Right, so we're going to reach in now and just kill the display on the navigation. Yeah. Select the monitor off. Bring the HVAC fan down to 0. If your lights were on, turn that off and turn the radio off as well. All right, we've got everything turned off inside the car. Close the door, let it sit for 30 seconds. That's gonna make the interior lights go off, stuff like that. Notice the DSC light's on. That's because we pulled those fuses. That controls the DSC 3 module in an E39 M5. So after waiting for 30 seconds, Kenan, correct me if I'm wrong, we can reach in and just press the button on the Shark.
Press the button and within 3 seconds, the green LED will begin to pulsate, indicating the transfer of data between the vehicle's ECU and the Shark Injector.
Go ahead. So we should have a green flashing light within 3 seconds. On camera, it looks like a solid green. It's actually pulsating very quickly, indicating the transfer of data. So it's working at the moment. We're going to keep an eye on that over the next few minutes. We'll update you with what it does next. One little change we did have to make back here. I went ahead and moved the negative terminal, the negative lead, over to the negative terminal. Reason being, we couldn't get it to charge when grounded to the frame. I don't know if it wasn't happy with that bolt or what. It would make me more comfortable grounded to the frame, but it is working like that. And again, we are in the 20 amp mode. Displaying that it's making 12 volts right now. The next step we're going to see, we haven't done anything, we just see a solid red, and that green is still flashing even though the camera isn't really picking that up. So what do we have right now, gentlemen? We have a solid light?
Yes, illuminate solely. This is your indication
For the record of E39 source, we're using a Canon T5i for production of this video. It should be significantly higher than the Canon PowerShot I've used in the past. The solid green and no red means we're gonna take some more actions now. So turn the ignition off, back to position 0, but leave the key in there. With the key off and still at ignition, we're gonna wait 1 minute now. Do not remove or uninstall the Shark Injector, open any doors, any of that. We're just gonna chill out here for a minute. 1 minute later and we're reinstalling fuses. Was it 17 and 31?
Yeah.
Whatever we said before. You can open the door at this point. We've elected it's just as easy to reach in through the window and get a good view in there. So we're just gonna leave the door shut for a precaution and plug those fuses back in. Keys going back to position 2 with the fuses reinstalled. Again, position 2 will illuminate your dash and all the check warning lights. Notice the DSC light at this point went off. That's good since we reinstalled the fuses that activate the DSC3 module. We're doing right now, as we have for the last several times, turn off the display, wait for your Mark II to spool up, or better yet, upgrade to a Mark IV. From within the menu, navigate to monitor off and press select. In the key in ignition 2, we're gonna wait another 60 seconds before pressing the button on the Shark Injector again. So then we're gonna see some pulsations for another few minutes. I believe this is one of our last steps. When it becomes solid green for 30 seconds, go ahead, turn the ignition off back to position 0, leaving the key inside. Then you're free to remove the Shark from the OBD2 port.
And then turn off and remove the battery charger.
I'm gonna make a note on the charger back here. Notice the flashing yellow LED right there. That's just notifying us that it's maintaining the voltage around 12.3. We saw it up at 13 for a moment. As long as we're above, I think it wanted 12 volts, there's no issue. So now with the Shark unplugged, we can of course detach our charger, put the trunk back together, and enjoy your performance or whatever gains you're looking for. Luke, I think he specifically went with the one that deletes the secondary air. System flow too low, the carbon buildup, the AA code. That's my primary reason for doing the Shark software on mine. Euro throttle settings, kept the rev limiter at stock 7,000 or 7,000. Wow, that's high. Used to an E46. So yeah, there we go. Time to drive it. Okay, we're ready for the initial startup. See how a stock exhaust sounds on a Canon T5i. I'm trying manual focus so you don't hear the focus motor. Beautiful. It lives to die another day. Okay. When you're ready.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. So we've already kind of done the initial drive, but
No, it can teleport now. It's a new feature.
And about again, we're at Wally World.
Engine fail safe.
Yeah, right.
It always scares me when it's under 37 degrees and it dings and it tells you. All right.
So hit sport on.
No, we're still in the.
Oh, we're in parking lot mode. Okay, well, right over here we have the Ohio Turnpike and 480, which is one of Cleveland's kind of major east-west highways, which we're going to be getting on for even less than a mile back over to my house. So we're not going to do anything crazy, but Luke, I just want you to say what you feel in terms of throttle response with the presence of sport on. Now, I noticed these differences within the first 100 feet. I drove my car after I did it. But of course I wasn't on camera at the time, so we're gonna get Luke to blabber here as we get on the highway.
So, the first thing that I feel is...
A little jerky clutch action there.
Really jerky
You new to manual?
Yes. First thing I feel is the sensitivity is a lot higher. So pedal travel, the pedal doesn't have to be depressed nearly as much as it normally would. With
it's a really sensitive throttle. Yeah,
essentially.
You're using the first inch for any kind of normal driving.
For example, this is no throttle, and this is like literally like
barely
a millimeter. I don't know. Like I'm barely, and it still just. That's like that. Touching
briefly on the SAI delete or the secondary air delete for the AA code. As soon as you install the Shark, I believe even if the code is stored in the engine computer, it will just totally ignore that. It will not report it to the ECU. If you were to put a peak reader, I have a R5 FCX3 that I could then put on the diagnostics port under the hood on my M5. It does not even report AA. It looks like Luke is fishing out his P from the glove box. It's in there somewhere.
It's a 2. It's
It's
not
a 2.
3,
Well, here it is. It's in that little box. We'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
So it just ignores the problem. Any other issues that should arise with the secondary air system, it should still report. Just that AA code is no longer reported and will no longer trigger a service engine soon light.